Hi there, my name is Yasmin. I'm a tutor here at Tutor Impact. And today we're going to be looking at the seven natural wonders of the world. Now, we're going to begin with a brief history about the seven natural wonders of the world. And then we're going to look at each one in a bit more detail. So, without further ado, we're going to go straight in. So, your first question might be, what are the seven natural wonders of the world? Now, the Earth itself, our planet, offers spectacular natural wonders that only a small percentage of people will ever actually see in their lifetime. So, a global popularity poll announced seven provisional winners that outrank all of the other sites across the Earth. And it was these seven top ranked winners that became the seven natural wonders of the world. And these include, as you can see below, they include the Northern Lights, the Grand Canyon, Paracutin, Mount Everest, the Harbour of Rio de Janeiro, Victoria Falls, and the Great Barrier Reef. Now, we're going to be looking at each one of these in turn. But just a point to begin with is that many of these naturally formed displays, they actually require an aerial view to capture the vastness of each phenomenon. Many of them are very large and that you can't see sort of everything that has to do with it from sort of the perspective of a person. However, quite a lot of explorers, travelers, tourists, they still travel to these places to get a glimpse of what they are. Now, we're going to begin with the Northern Lights, which are also referred to as the Aurora Borealis. So the Northern Lights have become a sensation for travellers travelling to the Northern Hemisphere. The Northern Lights are auroras, as you can see in this photo, which is a naturally occurring phenomena that consists of mist-defined displays of light in the sky. As I said, you can very clearly see this from the photo here. And the Northern Lights dance across the sky and they emanate a diffused glow across the northern horizon. The intensity of the Northern Lights increases as you head further north towards the magnetic North Pole in the Arctic. Unfortunately, the Northern Lights appear randomly though, which makes it quite a challenge for travellers to see if they're on a short trip. They're also more often experienced by locals who live in these sort of northern regions. However, some of the most popular places to see the Northern Lights include Canada, Alaska, Iceland, Norway, Sweden, and Finland, basically as far north as you can get. The probability of seeing these Northern Lights actually does increase in the winter months. Although they appear throughout the year, the dark skies in the winter make them easier to see. So that is our first natural wonder of the world, and that is the Northern Lights. Moving on to the second one, we have the Grand Canyon, which you can see part of in this photo here. And I think it's very clear from the outset why the Grand Canyon is one of the seven wonders of the natural world. You can see how incredibly vast it is from this photo, and it's not similar to anything else that you can see in the world. So the Grand Canyon itself, as you can see, is a steep-sided canyon, and it's carved out by the Colorado River in Arizona, which is in the United States of America. The closest major cities to the Grand Canyon are Las Vegas and Phoenix. Las Vegas you might have heard of. This immense canyon, which you can see here, is a mile deep and up to 18 miles wide, so it's absolutely enormous. And layered bands of colourful rock reveal millions of years of geological history with unmatched views from the rim, as shown in this photograph. For thousands of years, this area has actually been continuously inhabited by Native Americans who actually built settlements within the canyon and its many caves. But I think, as I said before, it's very clear why this is one of the seven natural wonders of the world. Just from its size, its vastness, as I said before, it's nothing like anything else in the world. Now, moving on next to Paracutin. So Paracutin is a cinder cone volcano. So it's a volcano located in Mexico. It's about 200 miles west of Mexico City. So the volcano itself suddenly surged from the cornfields of a local farmer back in 1943. And this attracted both popular and scientific attention because of how rapidly it appeared. So parachuting actually presented the first occasion for modern science to document the full cycle of an eruption of this type. And during the volcano's 9 years of activity, scientists sketched and mapped it and took thousands of samples and photographs. So it provided a really invaluable experience for these scientists to learn more about volcano cycles and this volcano itself. Although the larger region around Paracutan still remains highly active in terms of volcanic activity, this volcano itself is now dormant, and it has become a tourist attraction, with people climbing the volcano and visiting the hardened lava-covered ruins of the local church. So it's now dormant, so it's unlikely to erupt anytime soon. But as I said, the wider area around it is still quite active in terms of volcanic activity. Moving on to the next one of the 7 wonders of the natural world, we have Victoria Falls. So Victoria Falls is, as you can see from the photo, a waterfall that stretches 1.7 kilometers wide. This photo really doesn't do it justice in terms of the length, but this is an opening where you can sort of see it from this sort of mid-height. But it stretches 1.7 kilometers wide, and it's shared by 2 countries, which are Zambia and Zimbabwe. So the waterfall is thought to have been created over 1 million years ago. And it was thought to have been created when Earth movement caused the upper Zambezi River to divert to the east. So it was thought to have been created when the river diverted to the east. And the bed of basalt in the river that was diverted is over 305 meters thick. So the bed of basalt in the river is over 305 meters thick. And the cracks in this basalt are formed from cooled molten lava. And I think this is really interesting about it. And this is because it is so old and it's been here for so long. And during the wet season, the spray from the falls can be seen nearly 50 kilometers away. So from all the way 50 kilometers away, you can see the spray being caused by this waterfall. And the site has actually been given a local name that translates to the smoke that thunders. So it's got a local name called the smoke that thunders. And I think this really encapsulates the sort of majesticness and the scale of this waterfall. So that is Victoria Falls. The next one we're going to be looking at is Mount Everest. And this is a photo from just the peak of Mount Everest. And you can see that it's surrounded by clouds. And I think this pays homage to how high up that it is. So Mount Everest is, in fact, the Earth's highest mountain above sea level. And it's located in a sub-range of the Himalayan mountains. And the China-Nepal border actually runs across its summit point. So it's split between China and Nepal. Its elevation, which is the snow height of 8,848 meters, was most recently established in 2020 by the Chinese and Nepali authorities. So it's really, really high in terms of elevation. Mount Everest itself attracts many climbers, including highly experienced mountaineers. And there's 2 main climbing routes, one approaching the summit from the southeast in Nepal, which is the sort of standard route. And there is another route from the north in Tibet. And while it does not pose substantial technical climbing skills on the standard route, Mount Everest presents dangers such as altitude sickness, the weather and the wind, as well as significant hazards from avalanches. So although the climb up to the top itself is not that difficult, there are lots of other hazards in the form of the weather, the wind, and the risk of avalanches. So that is Mount Everest. The next one we'll be looking at is the Great Barrier Reef. And this is my personal favorite of the 7 natural wonders of the world. And it's the world's largest coral reef system. And it's composed of over 2,900 individual reefs and 900 islands. And it stretches for over 1,400 miles over an area of approximately 133,000 square miles. So it's stretched over 133 1,000 square miles. So it's absolutely enormous. It's the biggest coral reef in the world. So the reef itself is located in the Coral Sea, which is off the coast of Queensland in Australia. And it's separated from the coast itself by a channel 100 miles wide in places and over 200 feet deep. Now, the Great Barrier Reef can actually be seen from outer space, and it's the world's biggest single structure made by living organisms. And this is because the reef structure itself is composed of and built by billions of tiny organisms known as coral polyps. And you can see in this photo sort of the size and the scale of the Great Barrier Reef. And this is just a snapshot. If you zoomed out, as I said before, you can see this or this sort of feature from outer space. And moving on to the final of the 7 natural wonders of the world. This is the Harbour of Rio de Janeiro, and you can see it in this photo here. So the Harbour of Rio de Janeiro is located in Brazil, and it was created by the erosion from the Atlantic Ocean, and it's also referred to as Guanabara Bay. So this bay was formed, as I said, by the Atlantic Ocean. And over time, the sea eroded the rocks and sand, developing the bay we recognize today. So it's got quite a unique sort of shape, as you can see from this photo here. The erosion occurred in such a way that if you look at the bay from different angles, it can look like a river mouth or even a lake. So the Harbour of Rio de Janeiro is the world's largest natural deep water bay in the world, and that's based on the volume of water it has in it. And within the sort of surrounding area itself, there are more than 130 islands within the harbour, including ones such as the Governor's Island and Snake Island. Now that was the last of the 7 natural wonders of the world. I hope this video has been useful. We've discussed all of the 7, so the Northern Lights, the Grand Canyon, we discussed Paracutin, Victoria Falls, Mount Everest, the Great Barrier Reef, and finally the Harbour of Rio de Janeiro. And I think it's really nice to sort of see them in person. But as I mentioned at the start, these sort of features in the world are all enormous in size. So the best way to see them is actual from aerial footage, but don't let that stop you going and visiting them anytime soon. I hope you enjoyed watching this video and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.